Let's dive right in. Number 10. The multi-species circling. Sharks, penguins, and sea turtles swim in perfect circles for hours at a time, and no one can explain it. Animals don't burn energy for no reason, especially in open water, where every calorie matters. Yet here they are, not hunting, not feeding, just tracing endless geometric loops. The leading theory is that they're using Earth's magnetic field as a navigation tool. When that signal weakens, they begin circling to reacquire the correct coordinates, much like a smartphone GPS that loses its signal and prompts you to walk in a figure-8 pattern to recalibrate. But that tidy explanation breaks down quickly. It still doesn't explain why animals separated by millions of years of evolution all perform this behavior in precisely the same way. They circle in the same direction, hold the same relative speed, and trace identical diameter patterns. A sea turtle off the African coast and a tiger shark somewhere in the Pacific should not be running the exact same troubleshooting routine. That isn't a biological bug. It's a shared mechanism buried deep within marine DNA that science has barely begun to unravel. Number 9. Giant deep-sea tracks between Mexico and Hawaii. Enormous track marks are pressed deep into the seafloor, as though something massive went for a leisurely walk in total darkness. Scientists eliminated human activity as a cause. No mining equipment or dragged cable could produce the precise, repeating patterns observed. The tracks are also far larger than any creature currently known to science. They appear at depths exceeding 15,000 feet, nearly 3 miles down, in a world of absolute darkness and pressure that would crush a submarine instantly. And yet, something is casually moving across the abyssal plain. Researchers who sent submersibles back discovered fresh tracks cutting across older ones. Whatever is responsible is not a relic from the past. It remains highly active today. The prevailing theory involves an enormous, undiscovered soft-bodied organism dragging itself along the bottom. Because it has no skeleton, it leaves behind no bones to fossilize and no shells to wash ashore. It exists entirely beyond our detection, leaving only heavy, silent impressions in the sediment, the footprints of a giant no one has ever seen. Number 8. Octopus Cities. Octopuses are supposed to be aggressive, territorial loners. So the last thing marine biologists anticipated was finding them constructing thriving underwater settlements. Yet off the coast of Australia, scientists uncovered 2 densely populated sites, Octlantis and Octopolis. Dozens of gloomy octopuses live side by side in elaborate dens they actively built from gathered scallop shells. They aren't simply tolerating their neighbors. They are engaging in highly complex social behaviors. They even throw things at one another deliberately. Researchers watched them gather silt and shells, wind up, and use their siphons to hurl debris at neighboring octopuses, like someone fed up with a loud neighbor. The targets would sometimes duck, clearly recognizing the hostile intent. These are calculated disputes over territory. Octopuses have no known social instincts driving this behavior, since grouping together typically just draws in predators. Only 2 of these peculiar cephalopod cities have been found so far. The question isn't only why they're building them, but how many others are hidden out there in the deep. Number 7. The 26-second pulse. Every 26 seconds, something pulses from the ocean floor like a vast geological heartbeat. It originates from deep beneath the Gulf of Guinea and has been repeating without interruption since the early 1960s. It was pulsing when the Beatles dominated the radio. It pulsed at the turn of the millennium, and it is almost certainly pulsing right now. Seismologists discovered it buried within global earthquake data, a strange rhythmic signal standing out clearly from the background noise. Initially, researchers suspected faulty equipment. Earthquakes are chaotic events. They do not operate on a fixed schedule. But this signal fires with the consistency of a metronome. The popular explanation involves localized volcanic activity, perhaps a massive magma chamber cycling fluids in a regular rhythm. But this has never been confirmed, and no one has pinpointed the exact source. Nor can anyone explain why a natural geological vent would keep such flawless timing for more than half a century without any variation. The signal simply continues, steady and unchanging, as though it's patiently waiting for someone to finally decode it. Number 6. Perfect lines of holes. Scientists keep discovering rows of tiny, identical holes on the Atlantic seafloor, and no one knows what is making them. Each hole is roughly the size of a golf ball, and they appear in neat, straight lines, looking exactly as though a giant sewing machine stitched across the ocean bottom. They were first documented in 2004, and additional clusters have since been found along the mid-Atlantic ridge. The critical detail is that the edges of the holes are raised, meaning whatever created them excavated material from below rather than punching down from above. Leading guesses include an undiscovered burrowing organism or pressurized gas escaping from underground pockets, but no creature has ever been caught in the act, and no gas-based theory accounts for the perfectly straight, evenly spaced arrangement. Nature rarely produces straight lines. Discovering these manufactured-looking formations more than 2 miles underwater, with absolutely no explanation, is the kind of puzzle that keeps marine scientists wide awake at night. Number 5. Coordinated orca attacks. Since 2020, pods of orcas have been aggressively ramming vessels off the coasts of Spain and Portugal. Hundreds of documented incidents, and counting. These are not accidental collisions. They are coordinated, tactical strikes with the animals targeting the rudder specifically. They bite the steering mechanism, use their massive body weight to spin it violently, and have occasionally torn it clean off the hull, sending several boats to the bottom. The marine biology community remains sharply divided on the reason. Theory 1 holds that it is simply aggressive play. Orcas are exceptionally intelligent and become bored easily. Theory 2 frames it as a learned cultural trend, like a viral social fad, except these participants weigh 6 tons and can tear through fiberglass. Theory 3 is the most disturbing, that this represents a deliberate revenge campaign. Researchers believe a female orca named White Gladys may have initiated the behavior following a traumatic encounter with a vessel, and then actively trained her pod to replicate it. The behavior has since spread northward up the European coastline. Whatever the motivation, they are remarkably effective at it and show no signs of stopping. Number 4. The White Shark Café. There is a particular patch of open ocean in the middle of the Pacific with no land, no obvious food sources, and no reefs. And yet, every single year, thousands of great white sharks travel over 1,400 miles just to reach it. Scientists tagged sharks off the California coast and tracked them abandoning nutrient-rich coastal hunting grounds for this featureless stretch of open water, where they remain for months. Underwater drones revealed they aren't resting. They plunge to depths of 1,500 feet into the frigid twilight zone, race back to the surface, then dive again, repeating this punishing cycle hundreds of times daily. The strongest theory suggests they are hunting tiny deep-water bioluminescent creatures, but these are great white sharks, apex predators built to pursue calorie-dense seals. Chasing microscopic glowing squid would be the biological equivalent of a lion commuting 200 miles every day to eat a handful of crackers. The caloric arithmetic simply doesn't hold up. And even more puzzling is that no one can explain how thousands of solitary sharks all navigate to the exact same unmarked coordinate in a featureless ocean, year after year. Number 3. Whale supergroups. Imagine hundreds of enormous whales converging on the exact same location at the exact same moment. Scientists call these events whale supergroups, and they are completely at a loss to explain them. Whales typically travel in small pods of 10 to 20 individuals, not sprawling, chaotic mass gatherings. But beginning around 2011 off the South African coast, researchers began documenting humpback whales assembling in swarms of 50, 100, and sometimes more than 200 animals. One astonished researcher described it as the marine equivalent of discovering thousands of lions cooperating on a hunt in perfect peace. The dominant theory holds that as humpback populations recover from near extinction, they are rediscovering dormant ancestral behaviors, ancient survival instincts, switching back on like a deleted file that somehow restored itself from a corrupted hard drive. But the gatherings don't consistently align with dense krill concentrations. Sometimes the whales simply converge, spiraling together in a massive vortex, leaving every marine biologist present thoroughly baffled. Number 2. Dark oxygen. In 2023, scientists made a discovery that overturned a foundational principle of biology. They detected oxygen being generated at the very bottom of the ocean in complete, total darkness. The scientific consensus had always held that oxygen originates exclusively from photosynthesis, from plants and algae harvesting sunlight. So when a deep-sea sensor 13,000 feet down in the Pacific began registering large spikes of newly produced oxygen, researchers initially assumed instrument failure. The leading theory now attributes this dark oxygen to polymetallic nodules, potato-shaped lumps of rare metals resting on the seafloor. These conductive rocks may be generating tiny electrical charges that split water molecules apart, releasing pure oxygen in the process. It functions like a chemical battery that no one designed, powered by geological forces no one supplied. This finding dismantles one of biology's most fundamental assumptions, that oxygen production is impossible without light. And if that holds true in the lightless depths of our own planet, every model predicting where life might exist on dark, icy moons just became dramatically more plausible. Number 1. The Silent Eel Disappearance. Eels are vanishing from our waters at a frightening pace. European eel populations have collapsed by more than 90% in just 4 decades. This is not a gradual decline. It is a total ecological implosion. What makes it maddening is that we still lack a basic understanding of how eels actually live. No human being has ever witnessed a wild eel reproducing. Not once. Sigmund Freud himself spent the early years of his career dissecting hundreds of eels in a desperate search for their reproductive organs, and found nothing. The prevailing theory holds that European eels travel 4,000 miles to the Sargasso Sea near Bermuda, making the entire journey without eating. There, it is assumed, they reproduce in deep water, die, and their tiny transparent offspring drift back to Europe on ocean currents. But this remains entirely theoretical. No adult eel has ever been confirmed in the Sargasso Sea. No eggs have ever been recovered. No mating has ever been observed. We simply find juveniles washing up on European shores and work backward from there. And now, something unknown is preventing them from completing this ancient migration. Because we never fully understood their reproduction, we have no idea how to intervene. You cannot protect a breeding ground you have never actually found. That is everything for today. More videos like this are coming. Subscribe so you don't miss them.